Hello and welcome back to Out Here, simple, solo, rural, and finding freedom after 50. I'm your host Tom. It has been quite a while since I've been making any effort to record. I've put in multiple efforts thinking about how I want to create this new episode. There's been a lot of things that have come about that have given me concern, given me pause. Should I talk about these things? Will I get in trouble for talking about these things? Freedom of speech, as I used to know it growing up, is been perverted and convoluted into you can say anything you want as long as nobody objects to it, that has control or power or can label you as something that will get you canceled. And that has really put the cooling jets on how to proceed with the podcast. There's some things that I really feel that I need to talk about. And I'm going to. It's not as safe as I hope it is when I finish this episode. I might just have to censor it or delete it and start again. Here we are. You catch me again on my enclosed screen porch. We got the fire pit going. Got some waves in the background. I got some contraband here, little Woodbridge Cabernet Sauvignon from California. In Ontario, the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, doesn't allow the sale of American wine, but I have my ways. Oh, that smells good. So, one of the things that's happened since our last episode is there's been some high-profile political assassinations. Two come to mind. One is a politician in the state of Minnesota, and then the more public and perhaps gruesome spectacle was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I like to make it very clear. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with anything that this Minnesota politician did or didn't do, and I don't necessarily agree or disagree with the things that Charlie Kirk did or did not do. What I do vehemently disagree with is the silencing of people exercising their intelligent use of free speech that is tempered with a sense of duty to the truth, being reasonable and listening to others. Someone like Charlie Kirk, from what I've seen and researched, can engage, or no longer, but when he was still with us, he was able to engage people with very disparate points of view intelligently and debate them, and at the same time agree that they have a right to exist. They have a right to be who they are, and there are conflicts of those rights, transgenderisms and bathrooms and change rooms and sports teams and whatever. And I'm not here to debate any of that. What I am here to say is that for this person who is allegedly a 22 or 23-year-old Utah college student to be radicalized by certain left-wing forces to get him to go and assassinate Charlie Kirk in public in front of his family. Have we not learned anything since the assassination of JFK, Martin Luther King? We have these zealot idiots, some of whom have incredible power, whether it be political or financial, behind the scenes networks, that are having us kill each other over things that ultimately do not matter. I've had the privilege and the honor of being in rooms of 3,000, 4,000 people from at least 40 different countries and many different religions and cultures. Be in that room to learn from our day and to break out and work little work groups with them. And I mean, you name it, I've pretty much met them or work with them in a work group in terms of their religion, political affiliation, cultural group, ethnic minorities, social minorities. I've been exposed, and ultimately, when you get away from the noise and the divisive message from mass media, social media, political media, what it boils down to, when you strip away the shit that does not matter, we're all the same. We all want a safe place to live. We want a place to raise our children, for our children to go to school. We want the opportunity for our children and our children's children to grow, succeed, and to have a safe place to live and to raise their kids. And we want a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging, a sense of community. These are universal things. When you strip away the ideology, extremism in religion, and political differences, what we have are common values. We don't want to be out there killing each other. We really don't. You know, like, yes, there are certain human incantations of evil that must be put behind bars. Yes, they do exist, but the vast majority of us, we just want a life that has some sort of meaning, some sort of joy, and the ability to procreate and keep our way of life moving forward. There's just been this de-evolution, particularly in North America, where wanting to have these things makes you some sort of zealot, extremist, or right-wing nut job. How the hell did that happen? I've worked with different mentors, different coaches over the years. Oh, that is very nice wine. And there's one in particular, shout out to Reinhard Klett in Ohio. He was my coach at the time, and we were talking about similar world events that were disturbing me. In his German accent, he goes, "Tom, have you ever heard of the 3 buckets?" And I'm like, "I don't think so." He explained to me that there's basically 3 buckets. There's a bucket that contains your things, the things that you're responsible for, the things that you can affect, the things that you can change. Then there's another bucket that's society's bucket, and that's the things that society has to deal with. And my efforts, my input, my worry, my anxiety, my energy will be wasted on that bucket because it's not my bucket to affect. There is God's bucket, or the universe's bucket, things that are under the control of powers beyond human control. And he explained to me the importance of being aware of these buckets, and when something comes into my life, I need to assign it to a bucket. Does it belong in my bucket? Does it belong in society's bucket? Or does it belong in the universe's bucket? And that's been very helpful over the years for me. Reinhardt has been very helpful to me in focusing my energy, my time, my effort on things that I can have some sort of effect on the outcome of, and not on things that are occurring outside of my reasonable sphere of influence. And that's been great. But sometimes the other buckets overflow into my bucket, the certain outspoken individuals. Like, I agree with some of the things they say, but largely I think even they take things too far. For example, Dr. Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk. There's some things I agree with. There's a lot of things I don't agree with. But when someone would bring harm to someone exercising their freedom of speech, I'm not saying freedom of speech is free of consequences, but no one deserves to be executed for what they've had to say. There's just something really wrong with that. The theme here is finding freedom after 50. You might be wondering, why am I talking about this? This has affected my freedom after 50. And that's how it makes it germane to this podcast of finding freedom after 50. I think back to a really wonderful book I read. I forget the author's name, but the title roughly translates into How to Stop Giving a Fuck. I think his first name was Mark. And he's a blogger that wrote this international bestseller. Unfortunately, the book didn't give me what I was looking for, but it did give me a lot to think about. But I really wanted to learn how to stop caring about things that hurt me that I can no longer have any impact on. And the book didn't help me with that. It really didn't. But there were some helpful tidbits. Basically, the world has been an awful, unjust, dangerous, murderous, warfaring place since its inception. Whether it's the animal kingdom, the bacterial kingdom, the human kingdom, there has always been that. But it's also been a beautiful, wondrous place with all sorts of opportunities for adventure and growth and enrichment. Largely, how you approach the world, what attitude you embrace it with, determines the experience you're going to have. And I know there are those who might disagree with me, but to those I will say, stop, read Man's Search for Meaning, and get back to me. Because choosing your attitude is the last human freedom that can be taken away from you. That was written by someone who survived the atrocities of the Holocaust. It's actually a book I think I need to reread. It's something you should read at least every 5 years, just to reset your perspective and realize what you're facing compared to what you could be facing. You're doing all right. You know, every day when I wake up, I spend some time meditating, usually 15, 20 minutes. And during that meditation, I have some reflection on the things I'm grateful for and the things that I aspire to be and the things that I am ultimately truly humbled and grateful for. It's part of Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, and that's another book I highly recommend you check out. There's different versions of it now depending on what you might be looking for in life, but ultimately the original is probably the best. Taking some time every morning to give thanks for what you're grateful for, and also becoming mindful of what you want to be that day and what you aspire to become. It's excellent for your mental health. It's a humbling. It sets your intentions for the day. Sets your compass. So when something blindsides you, you can recenter quicker than if you had nothing to center towards. On some less deep topics, this past weekend was the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. The weekend prior to that, I did an early Thanksgiving dinner with my son, daughter-in-law, and grandkids. Today, I did a non-traditional Thanksgiving dinner with my sister and her husband. But actual Thanksgiving weekend, I loaded up the truck and the camper and my dog Lucas, and we went up to Lake Superior Provincial Park. We did some amazing walks along the lakeshore of Lake Superior and some amazing hikes in the park. Shout out to my friend Jake, who met me up at Kinnawabi Pines just south of Wawa for an awesome dinner on Friday night. It was really nice to catch up. They make a dish that my mother used to make, and sorry Mom, they make it better, called roulade, and it's just to die for. This restaurant's only open for the spring and summer. They shut down beginning of November, so I'm planning to make one more trip up this month of October to have that meal one last time this year. The camping weather was amazing. I had a wonderful campsite right on the shore of Lake Superior. The weather was such that I was able to hike in a t-shirt. I brought long johns and a parka in case I had a cold snap, but no, it was beautiful hiking weather. I put many miles underfoot. Got some amazing photographs that I plan to share on the YouTube channel in the upcoming week or two. It was a really great time to disconnect, recharge, get away from the man-made world and focus on nature and my own inner thoughts. It was really nice. I don't know who you are or where you happen to live, but if you have the ability to car camp, buy a tent, or rent a camper or RV, book a long weekend and get out to your nearest national park, state park, provincial park, Turn off the phone, turn off the world, and be with yourself. Take your dog if you want to. If you have a spouse that is a plus in your life, take your spouse. If you have a spouse that's more of a sense of angst or stress, leave them at home and just get out there and enjoy yourself, because we are not designed for the world we live in today. We are not designed for artificial light, 24/7 fast food, cubicles, indoor filtered air, climate control. We're not designed for stress 7 days a week. We are designed to be aware of something that could harm us and to escape from it, and then our stress levels come down. We're not designed for stress levels being high all the time. It makes us sick. It makes us do bad things like drink wine, do drugs, overeat, eat junk food, try and numb our pain with TV or incessant scrolling on social media or binging series on Netflix. When you escape from your normal surroundings and get somewhere peaceful, you can reconnect with nature. Probably the first day, maybe two, you're going to be a little edgy. You're going to feel a little like, I need to do something. You got to fight through those feelings and be busy with yourself. Be busy exploring, engaging with nature, casting, fishing, hiking, doing photography, sketching, writing in your journal, working on your book. Whatever it happens to be that gets you out of your normal mindset for a few days, even a few hours, it's really good for you. I came back from that 4-day trip feeling like a different person. It gave me the time I needed to percolate on my thoughts and feelings about what happened to Charlie Kirk, that politician from Minnesota, and what's happening to the world I used to know. It's been tough for me to process these things happening around me that I'm literally powerless to do anything about. And one of the reasons I'm powerless to do anything about is because if I become an outspoken public figure, much like Jordan Peterson, I will lose my ability to earn money professionally. I'm a regulated professional, and the people that regulate me have the ability to control my freedom of speech. That's been taken to court. Jordan Peterson tried to fight it. He took it all the way up to the Supreme Court of Canada. They refused to hear his appeal. Freaking fucking cowards. Because he wouldn't even needed his lawyer. They would have lost. Because you can't out-debate that man. He's just too intelligent. And again, not that I agree with all his tenets. For the record, his book, 12 Rules for Life, I couldn't finish it. It was awful. For a man who's such an eloquent speaker, his writing did not do it for me. But that being said, I can't fight the good fight until I'm at a point where, much like Jordan Peterson, I don't need the professional income anymore. And I'm a long ways away from that. So I got to keep my nose to the grind, stick to my station in life, rebel as I can, like my little podcast here, for better or for worse, until I'm in a state where I can retire and be able to relocate if necessary should certain people want to harm me. I got to keep a muzzle on certain aspirations. It's just how it is. Because there's a lot of changes that, I'm sorry, they're just not right. And I mean, the only change I can really speak of publicly, being a white male, is the discrimination against white males. This whole white privilege bullshit is, I mean, it's, you know, if I was more vocal about it, I would be subject to censure and sanctions and cancel culture. And it's not my war to fight. This globalism is a force that, let's call it the Illuminati, wants, and they control everything. Dan Rather, the CBC News anchor for many years, has a media course on Udemy. He does a history lesson on media in North America. And back in his early days of media, there were 60 competing news organizations in North America. The news was a service that television networks thought they had to provide the public. It was never meant to be a source of income. It was actually an expense for them. That changed when CBS started 60 Minutes, and that actually became a moneymaker for them. And then that evolved into 24-hour, 7-day-a-week newscasts, and the news became a business that was sponsored and made the networks lots and lots and lots of money. So now the news's goal is not to be good journalists and inform the public. Their job is to sensationalize you, to keep you glued to the screen and just keep feeding you more and more. And the second point, and the second prong of this evolution of news media, is there used to be 60. Now, at most, there's 6 conglomerates that control basically around the world what you hear, what you see, and for the general public, basically what you're allowed to think. That's progress for sure, right, guys? That's definitely independent journalism and ethical reporting in the best interests of humankind, to have 6 CEOs decide what you know. So, how do I wrap that around back to finding freedom after 50? Multiple mentors have encouraged me to definitely limit my exposure to news media, mass media, advertising, even Netflix. What they're doing with children's programming is utterly, I won't even say it. You can check that out for yourself. If you have young children, make sure you're watching what they watch with them, because there'll be stuff on there you definitely have to correct. You have to limit what you're feeding your mind. Much like what you feed your body affects how your body develops. Everything you eat becomes part of you in one way, shape, or form, whether it's fat, muscle, neurological tissue, brain, collagen out of your nails or out of your hair, mucus, whatever it is. Like, you have to ingest all these materials to keep regenerating yourself. Likewise, you're doing the same to your brain with the things that you're watching, the movies that you watch, the books that you read, the news, the people that you're talking to and socializing with. Be mindful of what you're doing. Get just enough news so you have a general awareness of the important things going on around you, but beyond that, you don't need to know minute by minute, high definition color coverage of every skirmish, every bombing, every earthquake, every typhoon. You don't need to know everything in high definition. You need to have a general awareness of what's going on. All that is distraction to keep you from focusing on the things that you can improve around you and the things you should be working on, like your health, your physical health, your mental health, your family's health, enriching your mind, making the world a better place through what you can contribute moving forward. I truly believe, as a society, humanity could be doing so much more. We could elevate the standard of living for everybody around the world and enrich lives, give greater meaning and sense of purpose, and move so much more forward with science, technology, health, and philosophy, exploration, improving the planet, exploration of space, the mind. Instead, there are certain people fixated on the accumulation of wealth to the detriment of others. We have people who are destitute. We have people dying. We have governments systematically killing certain people because they label them a certain thing, as opposed to trying to meet with them in good faith and coexist. That'd be a bigger challenge than starving them, bombing them, and whatever else they're doing over there. And don't think it's just happening over there. It's happening here. Believe me, it's happening here. You just don't know about it. It's happening in different ways here. Not quite as colorful, not quite as evil, perhaps, but it's happening. To those of you who are the solo 50-something male who this podcast ultimately is for, or if your life is heading in that direction, challenge yourself to grow. Challenge yourself to find the joy in life. Challenge yourself to find an honorable struggle that gives you meaning and fulfillment. That's what you need to focus on. Help your family where you can. in ways that are consistent with your values, your truths. Don't feel obligated to conform. Don't feel obligated to keep up with the Joneses. Do it well. And be proud of who you are. Be proud of yourself. Love yourself. Exercise the appropriate amount of self-discipline so that you're able to continue to take care of yourself, live the life you want to lead, help others the way you want to help them. I'm here to tell you, live your best life on your terms without hurting anybody else. That's what I think that should be the ultimate goal of the solo male in their 50s. I think it should be the goal of any reasonable person, but especially when you're in your 50s, you've made your marks in the sand, you've proven yourself, you've gotten to a point where there's some money in the bank, you have your home, you have some toys, you're able to do life more on your terms. That being said, I didn't have campfire philosophy and I didn't do campfire questions this time around. I think this episode was fine to stand on its own. Thank you so much for tuning in. I would love to hear from you. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment, leave a suggestion for a future topic, ask any questions you want to ask. Please be respectful. If you're listening on Spotify, you can leave me a comment in there. You're welcome to visit my website, tomsview.ca. I have episodes of the podcast on there. I have my photography on there. I have my blog on there. It updates when it updates. I don't promise anything other than what's on there I think is pretty cool. Until next time, this is Tom for Finding Freedom After 50. Solo, simple, rural. Take care.